Oh, that's where that went.
You are live, Mayor Hudson.
Okay, let's call to order the city council meeting, the regular meeting of September 28th, 2021. Before the roll call, the city attorney has an announcement.
Thank you. And this is a reminder that Governor Newsom's executive orders pertaining to the Brown Act currently remain in effect, allowing these public meetings to be held by teleconference to help prevent the spread of COVID-19. Madam Clerk, please conduct the roll call, and I'll ask the mayor to recognize me afterward to confirm certain matters for the record.
Councilmember Armstrong.
Here.
Councilmember Veros.
Here.
Councilmember Zafar.
Here.
Vice Mayor Perkins.
Here.
And Mayor Hudson.
Here.
Thank
I
you.
recognize the city attorney.
Thank you. Based on the responses to roll call, please let the record reflect that all council members can hear the proceedings clearly. And if there are no objections, the record will further reflect that each council member believes, based on voice or facial recognition or otherwise, that persons representing themselves to be council members are in fact who they represent themselves to be. And I see 5 thumbs up, and based on that, I will turn the meeting back over to you, Mr. Mayor, with a reminder that all votes must be taken by roll call.
Okay, thank you. And before I do the Pledge of Allegiance, I'm not sure if this is the place, but I had to do this earlier. Do we have time to make the recognition? What is it, AB 361? Do we have to do this monthly where it continues, or is that next month? And I only ask because I've got a special meeting tomorrow or the next day. It's like they couldn't wait at CCTA. That's the extension on what we're doing, the teleconferencing.
We were just pondering that question. The current plan is to bring that before the next meeting on October the 12th.
Good. Okay, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Are we putting up the flag? There we are. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Item 3.1 under announcements. Are there any changes or additions to the agenda tonight, Madam Clerk?
There are none this evening.
Okay, let's move on to 3.2, which is if you wish to speak under public comment or regarding an item, please click the raise your hand button on your computer or *9 on your telephone to request to speak when public comment is being taken on the agenda item. You will then be unmuted when it is your turn to make your comments for up to 3 minutes. After the allotted time, you will then be remuted. Item 3.3, board, committee, and commission meetings. A complete list of upcoming meetings may be found on the city's website at www.sanramon.ca.gov. Subscription service is available at the link for automatic meeting notification. Contact the city clerk with questions 973-2539. Public comment is now open. At this time, the public is permitted to address the city council on items that are on the consent calendar, including requests to pull an item from the consent calendar. Have we received any in writing, Madam Clerk?
There were no requests by
Okay.
email.
Sounds good. Requests for future agenda items, special presentations of which there is none tonight, and items that are not on the agenda. So I'm looking at, there are no written comments you said for public comment tonight. I'll get it out of the way. I'll make sure I understood that right. I got an almost nod. We've got one attendee who wishes to speak, and that's Jim Blickenstaff. Let's bring Jim in if we can.
Hello, Mayor and Council. Jim.
How you doing?
Hi. I had a quick question, and through the mayor, and perhaps I have to make a more formal request, but I was at a Zoom for a planning commission meeting, I believe, and the issue of the height limit came up, and I have a little history background in that. And one of the staff members said the height limit was 89 feet. It was more a footage thing than a story thing. And I remember for the longest time, it was 83 feet. So I was curious and I wanted to follow up with the council of what transpired to make it go from 83 to 89. There may be a very simple explanation, but I sort of missed it if there was. And I would just hate to think that that was done administratively rather than having a hearing and having open public discussions on raising the height limit. So if the mayor could have just staff or anybody get back to me on how that transpired to get to 89 feet, that would be very useful, and I appreciate that very much. The only thing I'm thinking about is in the future, if it go up again another 6 feet undetected or without hearings, that would start to be problematic. So I just wanted to kind of verify how that came about, if that's okay. And if you need a more formal request through emails or whatever, I can do that as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other attendees that wish to speak? Then we will go in once, going twice. I don't see any hands. We will close the public hearing. Yeah, I'd like to find out about that too. My memory is 85, but I think you have the parapet or whatever on top of that. And then if it's housing, there's the new legislation that allows 3 stories. So you got your work cut out for whoever wants to look that one up. Let's move on to item 5, which is consent calendars, item 5.1 through 5.7. Is there anyone wishing to pull an item? Vice Mayor Perkins and then Mark Armstrong.
No,
Scott,
not
you're
full. I
first.
just want to make a motion.
Okay, we have a motion. Perkins, do I have a second?
Let Mark, if he wants to pull something.
Well, first I was going to see if he was going to do it, and then go ahead, Mark. Which one do you want to pull?
Thank you.
We just amended.
Yeah, I'd like to pull 5.7, please.
Okay, we have 5.7, which will now be under the deferred, which is 7.5.7. I'm going to assume yours is 5.1 through 5.6. Is that correct, Vice Mayor?
Yes.
Do I have a second?
I can second.
Second by Zafar. Roll call vote, or is there any discussion? Seeing none for now, we'll leave the 5.7 for later. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Armstrong,
Yes.
Councilmember Veros,
Yes.
Councilmember Safar,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Perkins,
Yes.
Mayor Hudson.
Yes. That's 5-0. There are no special presentations tonight. So just like that, we're up to your question on 7.5.7. Hopefully you had some time for someone on staff to be here in case you have some questions to be answered. What is the issue, Councilmember Armstrong?
Well, I did have a couple questions. It does look like a fairly routine item, so I get the whole consent item business on it. But if Steven Spadowski is available, I'd like to kind of hear his report on this, and or at least I can just ask the question straight up to him.
Okay, what's your preference, Steven Spadowski?
Oh, it's not my preference, Mayor. It's whatever you like. I can give a very brief report, or I could just answer the questions directly.
Let's do the questions directly. I don't see anybody else wishing. Go ahead, Mark.
So, okay, so I see that we've got these public educational and government funds, the PEG funds. And my question was, with our balance being a little over 1.29 million, do these funds ever expire, or do they ever need to be paid back in any way, or does it just continue to accumulate until we spend it down?
As far as I know, they just accumulate. There is no expiration. I don't know if the city attorney knows
Just
otherwise.
unmuted. Go ahead, Martin, help him out.
I am not aware of any provision that expires the funds for any reason.
Okay, great. I think anytime we can get, funds from, using other people's money, as I used to say, OPM, I think that's great. Other than just, regular taxpayer dollars, I think that's wonderful. So another question I had was, are these PEG funds used in any way to help pay for, like we got the briefing last week on the citywide camera system, or is that a whole separate pot of money funded under the budget?
Yeah, that's a separate pot. The PEG funds are solely for capital projects related to broadcasting public meetings.
Okay. All right. So not even, I know we've got a CIP item for example, our citywide intelligent transportation system. So it's not used for something like that. It's just broadcasting of meetings. Okay. All right. Well, that's it. I mean, the only other thing I would have is you have a question, Councilmember Zafar?
I was just gonna say, since we did pull this item, maybe a quick report by Stephen would be helpful, because I know it's being put there for a special purpose. So while we're on it,
I would say, since we're going to have an attendee speaking, you might want to do a staff report, Stephen.
Sure, no problem. I'll make it brief. So this item, of course, is the review of a proposed video wall for the Rotunda and at City Hall. It's approximately 16 feet long by about 9 feet tall, and it would be on the same wall where the current monitor is. And really, the genesis for this idea was during one of our overflow meetings, where residents had to stand out into the Rotunda. And two items really came to the forefront when that happened. One, viewing the meetings on a 40 to 45-inch screen with many people in the Rotunda, you really can't see any of the display items or any presentations. So it was difficult for people to see any kind of drawings or any other special items. And then the second difficulty with our current system is that there's a speaker bar underneath that, even when it's turned all the way up, if anybody has a side conversation going on or squeaky shoes, it kind of echoes and reverbs throughout the Rotunda, making it difficult to listen to the meetings. So we came up with this idea. Some public agencies do have video walls of this size. I don't know if they necessarily broadcast council meetings, but the installation of this wall would allow for the Rotunda to essentially be a second council chambers, where you could have anybody could stand at any point in the Rotunda and clearly see what's going on with the meeting. We also have a secondary use that we could potentially use it for our secondary EOC, which is our conference room that's down the end of the hallway, where we could either have breakouts there to display information or public updates to the media using that wall. When it's not in use for council meetings, we can have static displays of public information. It's completely customizable. It's not just one big screen. We can section it off into different sections to display information and various other uses. So that's the quick rundown. And again, as it was mentioned, it's a dedicated funding source that does not impact the general fund.
So Stephen, if there are
I see.
the availability for private events in the Rotunda, then it could be used for that as well.
Potentially, that's not the primary focus. We can, look at other uses later on. But again, it is primarily for not just council meetings, but any meeting, parks or planning that happen in the council chambers. Also, one other use is when we eventually get back to live meetings, there may be some people that would prefer to distance a little bit more than what's in the council chambers due to either county requirements or personal preference, and this would allow for that as well.
Okay, Vice Mayor Perk, you have more, Mark?
No, I just make a comment that I think is great that we can have a big video wall where the public can get information. It serves good overflow for some of our meetings. If we can get back to holding public meetings and have that overflow. And I think, the ability to use it as an alternate or a secondary EOC, I think adds great potential for it too. I think it's a good investment. And I think the key to it will be making sure we have operators who are trained and know how to use this system. I've seen these systems before. They're sometimes not that easy to operate. You can put it all as one big screen or break it up into multiple different little screens, and you don't want just one or two people to be able to do that. You want multiple people to be able to be trained and able to do that. So anyway, I think it's great. I fully support it and look forward to the purchase and the installation of this video wall.
Vice Mayor Perkins.
Yeah, the question came up at the Finance Committee, and that was the use of this money. And I just want to reiterate that the PEG funds cannot be used for our general fund. We can't hire people or trim lawns and things like that. It's only for the public government meeting use. Is that right, Stephen?
Yep.
And so if we want to buy new microphones for the dais, we could use PEG funds for that because it relates to broadcast of the public meetings, but we can't pay the deputy city manager salary or something. Not that we would want to.
Is that a motion? No.
I'll move 5.7. We do
Okay.
have a public comment. Just
I know. I just want to get the motion second, then I'll
Yeah.
open it up.
I'll
I
second.
can second it.
Okay. Armstrong got in there first. Let's bring in the public comment, open it up, call in user number 1. Wherever you went, you have the public. There you go. Go ahead, we can hear you.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so I looked up the provider. I think the deputy city manager did a really good job looking for a reputable company. My concern is just that because I believe the setup of the wall will curve along the cylindrical shape of our rotunda, I have the following 2 concerns. Number 1 is that going to block a lot of the lighting and visibility, from the inside and outside? And the second concern is the material going to be overly stressed by temperature change, heat and cold? If they stress the material easily, we can end up having a split TV wall that is like, I don't know, I think it's going to be mounted, right? That's going to be mounted according to the curvature. That won't look very good. So if we can please make sure the material is going to be able to withstand to the heat and the cold, because anything appliance-wise, it's going to emit heat. And so then if it's trapped by the glass, and then the glass overnight will absorb the cold, it's going to stress that whatever material that's going to make up the screen very, very easily. So please be sure to discuss that aspect with the provider. Thank you. Oh, can I also pull 5.6 for consent item? I apologize. I logged in
No.
a few minutes late.
No,
but
that one had to
okay
be
then.
pulled back at public comment, but we do take your comments on 5.7. The reason you're able to speak to 5.7 because it was pulled. Consent calendar
Right.
items are done, except for the vote on this. Is there anyone else that wishes to speak to this? Seeing none, we will close the public comment. The only thing I would add is I've been after this for at least a dozen years. I saw what NASA did on these things. I'm not as concerned about the curve. We can do it curved, we can do it flat. I've seen all kinds of ways in every city and every conference center that we go to, and they're enthralling. I mean, people walk by these things and you just stay there and you just keep staring at it. With NASA, it was where the temperature or what the temperature was everywhere in the world for every day in 2013. And you just sat and looked at it over and over and over again. It's what I wish we had done to begin with, but I'm glad we're taking care of it now. And, I'm really looking forward to it. Any other comments before we vote?
I was just going to say we should project the mayor on it so that people can see a big picture and stop you in the grocery store and say, hey, I saw you on the big screen.
I would say no. And if there's no further comments along those lines, vanity is not a problem on this one. Christina, please bail me out and take a vote. Let's get out of this thing.
Councilmember Armstrong,
Yes.
Councilmember Veros,
Yes.
Councilmember Zafar,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Perkins,
yes.
Mayor Hudson.
Yes, 5-0. Let's move on to the city council appointment for the night. 8.1 Arts Advisory Committee appointment, staff report by Kathy Hyman, Parks and Community Service Director. Kathy, you're up.
Good evening, Mayor Hudson and Council. It is my pleasure to be here this evening with a recommendation from the Parks and Community Services Commission for an appointment to the Arts Advisory Committee. I think, as you know, the Arts Advisory Committee exists of 7 members and 2 alternates. Currently, there is 1 vacancy consisting of 1 alternate position. The city clerk announced the vacancy. Notices were placed on the city website and city facilities and distributed through Nextdoor. We received 3 applications and they were interviewed by a subcommittee of the commission. The commission reviewed the recommendation of the subcommittee at their September 8th meeting and are recommending appointment of Tiffany Turner to serve as alternate number 2 on the Arts Advisory Committee with a term to expire in March of 2023.
Okay, any comments or questions of Kathy? Seeing none, who wants to be, Sabina, you had your mute off.
I was going to say we can move that, and I was just going to say, as the council's liaisons to the Arts Advisory Committee this year, I'm just so impressed with that committee. Everybody's just so passionate about it, and we're really lucky that such passionate people are willing to serve on that committee. So just want to say thank you for it and move that we appoint her.
Okay, so we have a motion for the recommendation for the Arts Advisory Committee to appoint Tiffany Turner for a term to expire March 2023. Do we have a second?
I second that.
Second, Sridhar Barros. I'm sorry, got to be quicker in that, Vice Mayor. Any comments? No, you're commented out. Mark, you're unmuted. You got a comment? Not chicken. Okay. Anyone from the public wishing to speak? We see no hands. So let's open, close public. Let's do a roll call vote.
Councilmember Armstrong,
Yes.
Councilmember Barros,
Yes.
Councilmember Zafar,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Perkins,
Yes.
Mayor Hudson.
Yes. 5-0. Let's move on to unfinished business, none, new business. The highlight of the evening is the 2021-2022 redistricting process and community outreach for future council member district boundaries update. Presentation by Stephen Spadowski, Deputy City Manager. You have the floor, Stephen.
All right, good evening once again, Mayor and members of the council. Tonight, we wanted to provide you an overview of the process for district elections, how we got here, how they were formed, the district election process in 2020, and then the schedule for the upcoming process. So we wanted to give you a heads up because in the next few weeks, you should start to see some public outreach regarding the process. And I will go ahead and share my screen here for the presentation. Oops, here we go. So again, provide you with a review of how and why district elections were implemented in the next steps, the implementation process, what we went through in 2020, and what's coming up in 2022. So how district elections were implemented. The city began the process on February 12th, 2019 with the resolution of intent to move to district-based elections. By June 25th, 2019, the process was concluded with the adoption of an ordinance amending the San Ramon Municipal Code to establish the district election process. So it was a very timely process within a few months. Now, the reason why San Ramon moved into district elections was based on the California Voting Rights Act, which was signed into law in 2002, prohibiting an at-large method of election if it impairs the ability of a protected class to elect candidates of its choice. The Bay Area Voting Rights Initiative sent a letter to the city demanding a shift from 2 district elections under the CVRA. The city council elected not to oppose the letter and to begin the process of establishing the district boundaries, adopting the district elections voluntarily and within a certain timeline, capped the city's obligation to pay legal fees under the act. And to give you an update, and this information was presented, some of the cities and what they've spent attempting to fight going to district-based elections. We have Santa Monica, who have spent $7 to $10 million on defense, and the plaintiffs are requesting $22 million in legal fees. That's headed to the Supreme Court. And then you can see the rest on the list. Santa Clara, about $4 million. Palmdale combined, a little over, almost $7 million, and so on. So it is an extremely expensive process to fight with little chance of actually succeeding. So during the formation process, the city conducted a total of 9 meetings as part of the implementation. We started out with a public information meeting, and then there were a series of council meetings, 2 each on district discussions about the process of going to district elections, 2 each on discussing communities of interest, and also proposed district maps, and then the actual adoption of the ordinance. A professional demographer was hired to guide the process through the development of maps that would meet the requirements. A total of 9 map proposals were submitted by the public, and the demographer used the public input combined with city council comments to develop 6 draft maps for consideration. Now going on to our outreach and participation on the last go around, the next phase with the redistricting will mirror very much this process here. So we began that process back in January of 2019. Frequent updates were issued via all media channels available to the city throughout the process. And we also created our first deep dive web page summarizing all the activities related to the district election process. Some of the documents that we produced to help make the decision were descriptive maps of San Ramon, census data, communities of interest facts and sample maps, a Google interactive map of San Ramon, a redistricting proposal packet, and a redistricting proposal calculator. And I just want to show what that web page looked like for the deep dive. It kind of looks like a CVS receipt when you take all the screenshots and put them together. But we really wanted to make sure that we documented every step of the process. And if anybody had any question, and if they wanted to walk through the entire process, they could. And this is in reverse order, with the latest updates first. So, we have the adopted district map. We published the proposed district maps plus round 1 and round 2. Also the public submitted maps, which we had 9, so everyone could view those. The public submitted map process, we still have the proposal packet and the redistricting calculator up there, so people can take a look at what that looked like. We had a background on the entire issue and process, plus summaries of our public hearings. Then we have the section that I described earlier, the key documents to help the public participate in the formation process. We documented every meeting, including our links to the packets, plus the videos of the meetings. And then we had a very extensive frequently asked questions section. So I just expanded it here where you can look at everything that's involved with making the decision and some of the questions that we received during the process. So in 2020, the city conducted the first district elections. District 1 and 3 were the first up for election. And of course, the mayor remained at large, so that's every 2 years. A new district election website was created with an interactive map, a 1-minute Ask City Hall video, and a frequently asked questions section. So that was separate from what I just showed you, and that's still up to this day. We also mailed all residents a postcard explaining the new process. And here's a copy of that postcard. And really the big change for many residents, in particular those in districts 2 and 4, is instead of voting for 2 council members and a mayor, as what was the normal practice prior to that every 2 years, some districts voted for a mayor and 2 council members, and districts 2 and 4 voted just for a mayor. So that was a change. We did receive a few phone calls and referred them to the website and explained why this was happening. One item to note is potentially with the redistricting, if someone lived in 2 and 4 or 1 and 3 and their districts were shifted, they could be again voting for mayor and 2 council members, or again just voting for mayor if they get moved from one district to another. So that I think there'd be very few areas where that would happen, but we are ready to answer that question should it come up. So moving on to the 2022 process, our kind of brief overview of the evening is the key event triggering this redistricting process was the 2020 census block data that was just released. And on May of 2021, the city council voted to take the lead on this redistricting process. Staff, we retained the service of special legal counsel and the demographer that we used in the prior process for the redistricting effort. And under the Fair Maps Act, we have 4 public hearings that must be conducted as part of this process. So the first public hearing will be November 9th, 2021, and that's the education and introduction of public outreach. So any questions about communities of interest, the process, we'll go over that in detail for anybody, the public or council, should you have any questions. January 25th, we will have the consideration of public input and preliminary direction for the redistricting process. And then February 22nd, 2022, the consideration of the draft maps and any discussion of refinements from the council at that point based on public comment or anything else that they've considered during the process. And then finally, March of 2022, a hearing for the consideration of a final map. And then it will go to 2 more council meetings for I believe, for ordinance adoption. So with that, that is the brief overview. Again, a primer because we will start in a few weeks advertising on all of our channels that this process is coming up. So with that, I'll stop sharing, and if there's any questions.
Okay, Vice Mayor, members of the council, anybody wish to ask any questions before I open up public comment? Seeing none at this time, there'll be a second shot at it. Oh, go ahead, Sabina.
Yeah, Stephen, I was going to ask, like, are we going to hire the demographer again, or is this to kind of draw these out and then bring us some of the, I think one of the things, and I don't know if this is, stop me if I'm, out of bound of this meeting, but I think in Doherty Valley, there is distinctly 2 neighborhoods called Gale Ranch and Windermere. And I don't know if those were considered. And their community of interest is that one pays a lower tax, the other pays a higher tax. And those who live in Windermere know that well. And so that's a recommendation that I don't know, how that works, but that could be a way to get those communities of interest in Doherty Valley together.
Oh, I'm going to leave that one alone.
If I could do a quick.
Go ahead.
Yes, please.
There are, as Stephen said, there are going to be 4 public hearings, and there has to be at least one of those hearings taking place before any maps are presented to the public or to the council. So at that time, we'll be able to talk about criteria for the maps and where special neighborhoods might be and where the lines might need to be drawn due to those types of considerations.
Okay. Then you'll get another shot at comments also after we ask the public to speak. We do have one attendee that wishes to speak, call-in user. You have 3 minutes.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
I just want to say that whatever law that required us to follow this district election is racist. And I am very angry with the fact that now my vote is only worth a quarter. Used to be I can select all 4 council members, and now I can only select 1. This is absolutely undemocratic, and I'm an Asian. I want to say that I am the area that pays more taxes. And guess what? I think my district is a racist district because during the November election, Mayor Hudson's campaign signs were pulled up left and right. I was very angry with my community. If this persists, what we will see is that San Ramon will be a predominantly Asian community. And I'm sorry for all the white people who live here. You're screwed. You have no recourse because the law doesn't protect you, but you are indeed a minority because now our entire city is predominantly Asian. Those people that were here lying to us, the lawyer, Rafferty, the demographer, they collude with each other. That demographer, how is he so lucky that he's hired every single time to every single government meeting that I went to for the district meeting? It was in the water district. It was a school board meeting. It's a city. It's the same people every single time. Our entire state is an authoritarian government. We can even recall a lousy governor. I feel so upset. And I am Asian. I'm originally from Taiwan. I really, really feel so sad that my family came to this country only that now my children's future will be authoritarian. If I could ask you guys to please do away with this redistrict stupidity, I would ask you to, but I know you're bound. So let me be on record. I denounce this redistricting stupidity that is nothing but racist and authoritarian. Thank you.
Any other attendees wishing to speak this evening? There is one, Jim Blickenstaff. We can hear you, Jim.
Oh, great. Well, that's going to be a difficult public comment to follow, but I think I'll do my best. I have a different perspective on this because I've seen districts work for their purpose in the county with East Bay Parks, East Bay Mud. I think East Bay Parks has 7 wards. They have representatives from different parts of their district. And so for several entities, districts has worked out quite well. And it gives even a minority a voice that otherwise would be overwhelmed sometimes by a majority. So there's 2 ways to look at that. So my thought on doing districts correctly and fairly is to get back to a process that was available in the past that I assume would be available now. Have a committee of people that are independent of the political system that can review it for equality and fairness of the districts so that you're not combining one neighborhood or enclave, whatever you want to call it, with 3 or 4 others of a different characteristic and different common interests. You're trying to give a commonality to each district. And it has to have that kind of approach in addition to just having equal populations in each district. And the best way to do that and keep politics out of it is to have a committee of citizens and people that are independent of the political efforts that are made on these sort of things that end up with gerrymandering. And then you can end up with appropriate districts that fairly represent diverse populations. And that's the key. And I'll get back to an old theme I have that we have different distinct areas of the city with their own character and population base. And I think 6 districts would represent that diversity better than 4 districts. It's just obvious that you can find that kind of commonality with 6 districts a little better than you can with 4. And then you'd have at-large mayor as before, which everybody votes on. So I just say that's a way to proceed with the way of doing this in the fairest manner possible. And I think you'll end up with a better result than happened last time. So this might be an opportunity to correct some things that weren't really in the best interest of the population and make it a little more representative of the people overall. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, seeing no other speakers, we'll close the public hearing. Did he say at large or a large mayor? I did. Okay. No, I didn't. I think actually what we just heard, Stephen, is exactly what you're reporting. There's going to be 4 meetings. There's a meeting before Martin, I'm going to go back at you on this one. We have a meeting before we even start drawing up maps or anything, correct? Where people can speak to some of the issues that we just discussed or we just heard from the public comments. Is it 1 meeting or more than 1?
We have,
I guess
it has to be at least 1 meeting before.
That's what I was looking for, at least.
Mm-hmm.
And we'd also voted in I think a couple of months ago and decided to go with following this process that we're now following.
Yeah, it's a tough process not to change at this time because we went through the one. It's exactly what you're saying. People are going to have to realize that they change some things. Some people may not be able to vote at all for council members, and others may be voting a second time, but that's why we have the public meetings. So just trying to get information out. Is there any last comments or anything anybody wants to make? Sabina, I think you just covered it really. We started down that road and there's no reason to change at this point, at least until we get to public hearings, or am I putting words in your mouth?
Yeah, no, I was just wanted to make it clear that we had already discussed this in a couple of meetings back,
Yeah.
and so just wanted to raise that.
Yeah, I think the only other point that you heard on that is, and I would say bring it up at that first meeting, is whether or not you want to have some kind of independent commission oversight. I've heard it in different places. I have a different opinion about, simply because you're not elected doesn't mean you're not political, but that's mine. Go ahead, Scott, and then Mark. Scott, you got it. You're up and you're muted.
We voted already that the council will manage this process.
Yeah.
We already voted on that.
That's what I said, yeah.
Yeah,
The council will manage this process.
Yeah.
And we already voted on that. So
yeah. We'll probably be voting again after we have the first meeting, the second. I don't think we're going to change, but I think there'll be votes all the way along the line. Mark?
Yeah, Stephen, your slides were moving pretty fast there, but when you got to the calendar for all the different meetings for the public hearings, are those public hearings with council or are those separate public hearings?
Those are all at noticed council meetings. So it's the full council, full meeting like tonight. It'll be an agenda item on each meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, if there are no other, Sridhar.
Stephen, you did a fantastic job during last election when you communicated with the community about this whole process. Like you mentioned during your presentation, please continue the same. Let's make sure we educate our community and get them up to speed about this whole process and how these districts work. And let us know if we can assist or in any way. Please feel free to reach out to me or any of our council members so that we can get in touch with the community also. Thanks for all your.
Thank you.
Okay, seeing no further hands, this is a no council action required. It's the first step in many, and we'll be hearing more about the joys of redistricting. Let's move on to the most anticipated moment of the night, the city manager comments. And you're on mute.
I didn't say anything. I was waiting. I got off mute.
Okay.
Just a reminder to the community that we're undertaking the general plan update, and we encourage the community to stay involved and to sign up to receive updates. You can do so at plansanramon.com. It's a dedicated website for that. So if you want to take part in planning the city's future, I highly recommend you receive updates and become involved with that process. That's all I have for tonight.
Okay, thank you. We'll move on to public comment number 2. That's item 12. If you have not previously spoken at public comment, that's item 4. Please use the raise your hand feature on Zoom or dial *9 on your telephone when it's your turn to talk. We will call upon you by name if provided. Remarks are limited to 3 minutes per person. A clock will be running on the Zoom screen. The speaker's microphone will be muted once the allotted time has expired. I know call-in user 1 to speak on 5.6. It would be allowable at this time. Let's bring in call-in user in case she's moved on to something else. You have the floor and we can hear you.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I have 3 items I want to cover, so please excuse me if I speak quickly. For 5.6, I wished to have pulled earlier. I want to say that I don't know why the stations that we had put in earlier near the City Hall was informed in the previous meeting that they are out of order. And when I asked a question during the meeting, I wasn't answered. So if these stations that are supposedly, kind of like we are putting them in because they are subsidized they go out so quickly and we can use them anymore, please stop bringing them in. I am, sick that we have to keep making room for inferior products in our city. The next thing I want to say is that, echoing what city manager just said, do you know why that people don't participate in politics? My big mouth have actually caused me to be followed around and to be harassed. And sometimes my tires have actually been popped at a Target parking lot. And today there was a very sharpened wooden stick that was placed very close to where my car was parked. I'm telling you guys, the redistrict election is allowing more minorities who are from authoritarian countries to be in our government and to work in our technology and accounting and attorney offices, that we're now literally, I feel we're no longer American. It is just, I'm just counting the days that I will be successfully murdered, for being an American in California. And that's not a joke. I'm not trying to be funny. I say that with the most sad and serious and grave mood to just share with you that I just feel despair for the future. For those of you who are still serving our community by not moving out of the city and the state to join other white people out of state, I thank you so much for staying. Very soon, this state and our city will be occupied by predominantly Asian. And I know I cannot hire a Rafferty or a demographer who colludes with him all the time to get me to redistrict so I can get white people or other, people who have been really seasoned and who have history in founding our country and our society to be democratic, to serve in our government or to be my neighbors anymore. This is so, so, so sad.
We've got to cut you off there. Thank you. Okay, public comment is closed. I don't see anyone else wishing to speak. City council members, you have comments. Mark, we're going to start with you because you're still muted and Scott's not. No, Scott, go ahead. Take it first if you want.
Well, as Dave and Sabina and I attended the league convention, and it really was a good, solid convention. They covered a lot of really good, important topics, and the vendor floor was virtually full, and there was some very high quality opportunities to discuss a multitude of topics there. And so I think it was a worthwhile opportunity for us to also talk with council members from other cities and see how they're doing and what they're doing and what's working and what's not working. So, I mean, that's part of the value of the convention is networking and the concurrent classes and the vendors. Those three things are where the value is. And I think they did a fabulous job. And I'm glad I went.
I think you're right on that one. Mark, you're unmuted. Sabina, you're next. Can't hide.
Sure. I attended the team council meeting on September 21st. This was their first regular meeting of this new season since schools started back. They had their swearing in. They got some Brown Act training. They got a general plan update, and our planning staff solicited some of their input. They also gave report outs on some of the different subcommittees where they have an opportunity to engage with their peers and their classmates to get feedback and bring that to the different meetings. They also provided some L&O reports. They have L&Os to meetings like this, for example, and all our other major committee meetings. And they got an update from Parks and Community Services. So it was a pretty good meeting. Always exciting to see our young teens involved in this process. As I've said before, they're the future of San Ramon, and it's great to see them so excited about what they do. Won't go into all the details, but I think we all know, and I hope the public who is still with us will take advantage of some of the opportunities that are coming up in October. We've got Oktoberfest coming up. We've got the San Ramon Valley Education Fund, Run for Education, Culture in the Community, a lot of different activities with our performing arts folks and events sponsored by the Arts Foundation and the Senior Foundation. So a lot of things coming up in October, and just hope everybody gets a chance to participate in those. That's it.
Before I leave, Mark, you were at the conference, correct?
No, I was on a trip back east.
Okay, no problem. Sabina, you were, and then Sridhar.
So
We'll get the
just
league people out of the way first.
right. I also just wanted to add on to what Scott said. So basically, Cal Cities Conference there's 482 cities. Their council members, mayors, city managers, city attorneys. So this conference happened after a couple of years. We hadn't seen anybody in person. And just like Scott said, it is a really good opportunity. One, talk to other city council members. So for example, I ran into the mayor of Santa Clara, and we talked about how they were sued for redistricting and what they had to go to and if they could turn back the clock. But then other things that cities are doing too. So it was a great opportunity, one, to build partnerships across the region as we do things for our residents, learn from other council members, essentially what they're doing to serve their communities and how we can bring some of those things here to San Ramon. There's a learning track where you go in and learn about things, how cities are managing, like Scott talked about some of the finance stuff, the pension stuff, the cannabis stuff, the schools, the communities that are changing. And so that's a great opportunity. And then obviously there are vendors there as well. They provide services to the cities, and gives you an opportunity to see perhaps some things that we're passionate about. How can we connect with them and bring those services to the city? So I really enjoyed it. It was a really great conference. I think it also gave us an opportunity to just connect with each other as well, which has been tough during the last couple of years. So I appreciated that. I also got sworn in as the East Bay Division board member. So I am the East Bay Division representative for you. That means for the next year, East Bay Division events that will happen will be decided. So if there's speakers you want to see, you want to hear, let me know. I'll take it back to the board. Mark and Sridhar, we really missed you. I think as a first-time elected council member, when I went to this conference, it was very helpful because every city, it has a certain culture and character, and then you get to talk to other members and they're like, yeah, but we do it this way. And, I don't know if Joe necessarily likes that we whisper into each other's ears, but you build some great partnerships and relationships, and I think which benefits our residents and brings great ideas. So that was a great highlight for me as well from last week.
Okay, Sridhar.
Oh, for sure. As Sabina mentioned, I missed definitely the good opportunity, but due to conflict of already with my calendar. So hopefully next year I'll catch up. But we are very happy to know that you are going to represent as the East Bay board member. That's a very great news. So we can pass over all the requests, and as well we can see some of those events happening in San Ramon or in Tri Valley. That will be great. Thanks for that. On my comments or items, the first one is I'm looking forward to see you all on our Oktoberfest presented by our San Ramon Historic Foundation on Saturday, October 2nd from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. If you still didn't buy your tickets, please visit the website of our San Ramon Historic Foundation, buy your tickets, and you can join. And if you are interested in volunteering, please let them know or let me know. I can pass the message. So that's one. And the second item is about one of our San Ramon Cricket Association Youth Academy girl, 15 years. She got selected to US Women's. She's the youngest women's cricketer, got selected in US national cricket team. So that's, as I keep saying, it's just a beginning, and we are looking forward for more and more achievements that are going to be taken by this San Ramon Cricket Association Youth Academy. So thanks for all your supports, your leadership support to providing them the infrastructure so that they can play the best cricket and build this enormous academy as well as a great cricket players. That's 2 items. That's all. Thank you.
Okay. Before I move on to comments, and I have a call-in user, I don't know if the hand's still up or wants to speak to council comments, but does staff also have to report out? I can't remember. Martin, do you guys give out a report out on when you're at these meetings, or you have nothing to do with it?
At which meeting?
At the League of California
Oh, the
Cities.
League of the- we don't do a report out on the meeting itself. I can share.
No,
that.
no volunteers. We don't need it. I just want,
Sorry.
I wanted to be sure.
Yeah.
I couldn't remember from Alma that anyway. We have a call-in user on council comments. Let her in. Let's see what's going on here.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, this is council comments. You have a comment on council comments?
Yes, I do. So I, as a resident, if I hear any more people, councils who represent me in this city, who say, you know, they like something in Santa Clara and they're gonna bring them here, I'm gonna flip. There is nothing in Santa Clara that I like. I like San Ramon. And if there is any council members out there representing me at city council or whatever parties that you guys go to, please hold your head up high, because you represent the most beautiful city that was so amazingly and wisely planned by people 2 decades ago. It's amazing. Please hold your head up high, and I have nothing. There is nothing Santa Clara have that I want in San Ramon. Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to mayor's comments. I think I echoed just what you heard from the previous council members at League of California Cities. I tried to highlight on the wildfires, obviously with the participation with the Bay Area Air Quality Management District, and the housing crisis, which in fact, I just left a note with the league survey that, you know, when I've got to hear 28 RENA appeals within 48 hours or at the start of it, I'm not really that enthralled by council members that have been on council for 2 years or less telling me how tough RENA is. I mean, it is pretty tough, but it was the right panel. I would just ask whoever that representative is of North Bay, that I know when Debbie's also Planners Institute, that we had an opportunity to get the executive director of the Air District, the executive director of MTC and the COG in there, and let you know really what you're up against when you do some of these things that, should we say, a city decides to appeal its RENA numbers, which I guess I can't hear tomorrow morning for hours, but that's a different story. The networking is the key. I don't think it was clear to the last speaker that networking is you listen to what other people are doing and you just bring in the information. And if it's something we can use, we use it. It's more of them picking our brains. I mean, some of us been doing this a while and they want to know what we're doing successfully, like the autonomous vehicle. There were only 2 cities in California allowed to have it on the street. Enough of that. The RENA appeals came through. I think we had 7 or 8 of them. None of them were upheld. Tomorrow morning will be another exciting day on that one. Might as well just stay here and keep the coffee going. There's going to be 28 of them. It's tough. You've got to beat the methodology, and the only way to do it is if there's a math problem, and we'll see. Bay Area Air Quality Management decided they're going to start increasing fees. It used to be we tried to get up to an 85% return, similar to what we were talking about on the study, where we want to go to 92% on The pension, well, they went from 85, they're going to go to 100%. So this is probably not the best time to be raising fees, but they're going to do it anyway. And that's probably why a lot of restaurants are going out of business. Then there was the MTC ABAG Legislative Committee, where you just can't beat the news that SB 8, 9, and 10 Skidoo passed, and the governor gave us an early Christmas present. And if you haven't read the legislative outlook on that, I now keep it on my desk here. You can come in and see what just happened, because there's going to be a lot of people asking over many, many years. The federal legislation, I don't know when this thing's going to get signed, you know, $1 trillion here, $1 trillion there. How long ago was that? We used to say that, and then you're talking about real money. Well, that fight's going to be on, but there are some good policies in there if we can get the good ones through, and that's Build Back Better Housing, which will have to do with more money for affordable housing. In light of the RENA numbers we got hit in Northern California, that's probably going to be positive. And Build Back Transportation. I would just say, Scott, you get the Innovate 680 thing going again. That's, you know, that's where it is. That and the Valley Link that I'll be reporting out on. The transportation, when I keep reading it over and over again, there's something in there I'm missing, but that's the way it is. The issue became they're worried about double dipping, and they want direct subsidies. So I like that sound. Anything you want to give me money direct without having to pass through anybody else, that's the kind of accounting I like. And the last one that really caught my attention, the very last sentence, I sent it over to Chris Weeks. There is going to be a bike commuter benefit. These electric bikes are going to get a lot of play in this transportation bill if it comes out. And the last thing is, like Sabina, I got selected too. I'm the new chair of County Connection. So if you have a problem with the bus, call Sabina. After that, I would just say if there's no further comments from anyone, and you don't have to report on League of California Cities, we are adjourned to the next meeting on October 12th. Probably the same bat time and the same bat discussion. Do we have anything highlighted that we're going to be looking forward to on the 12th? Anyone can think of?
So we do the costumes on the 12th or on the 28th?
I think it was the 12th we said, but in any case, we are adjourned to that meeting, and we'll see you all. When's the next one we have? Not until the 12th. So have a good time, and congratulations, Sabina. Good night.